brands. Because the InBev, the Belgian company, owns every Anheuser-Busch brand of beer, which was a lot of beers. I can't imagine the Anheuser-Busch family could even buy it back from InBev.
Okay, so if you were like a corporation and you were trying to save as much of your money or worth, whatever, as you could, the more times you cross it through other businesses and back, the more write-offs and other stuff you can take advantage of. So it's probably just a way to try and save what they can at the company. This company was probably never going to keep it if it does sell, but they probably will just keep it because why not be a monopoly? Yeah, well, not a monopoly, but pretty damn close once they figure it out. I don't know. I just think they've made some of the worst decisions, but everything they do in corporate, like when you start filing bankruptcy, selling companies, like these are the actual loopholes that are in the tax codes. So it's the, they're just taking advantage of shit.
Morty, listen up. The Punchbowl is this crazy digital dimension. Morty, they've got this thing called the Punchbowl.space. Morty, they're talking about stuff. Morty, there's even some intergalactic reptilian ambassador named Samuel. And Morty, they've got Webmeester. Cold saying not turning people into frogs or anything. So, if you're into that kind of thing, Morty, give them a like and repost. You know, let's see where this goes. Morty!
That was good shit. Well, if we've beat the Budweiser to death, I can bring up another subject that has been grinding my gears for a day now.
Yes.
Okay, so Vivek, right? You know how he got connected to WEF at some point because like he was listed on their website. He's trying to divert that whole thing. He had actually won a lawsuit against them supposedly because they weren't supposed to put him there because he turned it down. So this is his marketing ploy to try and distance himself from any connection to the WEF. And I just thought that was super interesting. And also, they think we're idiots.
All right. So to me, it seems like kind of a weak move. Why not just own it? I've made the case for why professionals might associate with the WEF. I don't know. Yeah, that kind of sucks, man. It's kind of a beta move.
Well, he is going to donate all his winnings from the lawsuit. Fucking prick. Sorry. I hate it when people try and like pull the wool over your eyes. It's like, listen, I'm not over there with you, and I don't believe this in your IQ level. What the hell's wrong with you?
Nah, nothing to be sorry for. This stuff is worth mentioning. I'll tell you what frustrates me more. It's not exactly Vivek. It's the people that don't think critically enough that don't see through it. Not that everyone should be as cynical as us. However, being able to see things for what they are and look past the marketing, like, all right, I've never had kids, but I had two little sisters that I had to take care of a lot, and those little shits lied a lot, and they're manipulative as fuck. And like they would try and tell me what had happened that I had just seen in their words and change things. So if a 2-year-old will do that, what is a 40-year-old billionaire going to do to save face? I'm going to refer to House MD, the television show. Everybody lies. So, Vivek, just fucking own it, man. Don't do stuff like that. Because if you're going to do small stuff like that and not own it on small things, I can't trust you with the larger stuff. I I respect much more. Yeah, I fucked up or that sort of thing as opposed to a playoff. Also, how come every time someone makes money, they have to donate it to charity now?
Well, he makes so much money, it's just a write off, really. And he probably made some behind the doors moves. So it's probably almost like money laundering through art, just they're using a business instead. Well, his name.
Well,
It's how you look at it. Sorry, go ahead, Simon.
I was just going to say one of the headlines I've caught recently is that someone leaked DeSantis campaign plans. and the plans basically state hammer Vivek Ramaswamy. And so, like, the CNN brought him on last night to talk to him for, I think they gave him like 15 minutes of airtime, and he, the, to the point of what does he say in public, right? And why can he talk so fluidly? That makes me distrust him. One of the things I liked about Trump was the misspeaking, the fact that he could not just, spew words in these eloquent patterns for 5 to 10 minutes that left you with the feeling that he said nothing. Vivek can do that, but then at the same time, he will say out loud. Last night on CNN, he said the name Douglas Mackey. I've not heard anybody else say the name Douglas Mackey in public. And if he really believes that guy matters, I'm more interested in Vivek. He said he was saying day one, I'm going to pardon Douglas Mackey, I'm going to pardon Julian Assange, and he has a nice message there. But I still am skeptical of him. He's just too damn smart. He came out of nowhere. But if his purpose is to just say those things he knows need to be said, again, the name Douglas Mackey, if you don't know who that is, please look this guy up because he's probably one of the most horrific stories in our country right now.
Sorry, I was holding that one for since yesterday. Like, I couldn't, it couldn't wrap my head around. I'm like, really, man? Like, it was like a level 3 out of 10 move. I just felt it was super weak.
Vivek is the Tucker on Twitter this week, I believe, right?
Probably. I thought did he already do one with him or no? Oh no, that's right. Tucker did Tristan Tate last time, I think. I actually watched like the first 2 episodes of Tucker, and then I pretty much never heard about him again. Like we talk about it, we'll catch a clip here and there, but people don't waste the 10 to 20 minutes. It's weird. I'm surprised.
I feel like I need to watch him for the town square in case others bring it up, but I don't want to, like, I don't, it's more work to me than anything else.
Yep, that's exactly how I feel. You guys want to switch gears again since there's no traction on that story anymore?
I don't think anybody knows quite what to say about the man. I mean, I'm going to hold firm, just watch him. I don't trust anybody that comes out of nowhere. We had that once already with Obama, and I don't want to see it again with this guy. I mean, to me, he doesn't seem genuine. So if we want to go down a different path, I'm game.
I think if you think about Ramaswamy, he came out. We didn't really know much about him. Got a lot of interest, and now he's like on the cusp of mega, right? But he's kind of leaning back, but he's trying to grab. I got your dollar, got your dollar, and then he's trying to get a few to come his way, and then he'll go back and talk articulate, and then the old fly fisherman that got your dollar. That's what's happening. He's playing. Remember, I said how Dom does his tweets. His tweets are open ended, so it gets both sides, and then when the liberal gets in there, like, what the hell? It's a conservative message, but that's where I'm at with Ramaswamy. Until he comes into the punch bowl and convinces us otherwise, right, Tap?
Bingo.
Bingo.
We didn't know nothing about Jimmy Carter or Bill Clinton either. Think about that. These people just come from nowhere.
Yeah, well, I'm turned off by the whole situation because I was in a space with him and Kathy stepped up and started speaking. And let me tell you something. She's a nasty woman. And just because of her, I won't even be bothered following, talking, anything. This gets my blood boiling. So I'm going to go back on the subject of beef stew.
You're a great guy, Joseph.
Thank you.
what message did it send to you guys when he was rapping Eminem?
That
It's like Trump. It's like Eminem is a Krasenstein. You know what I mean? And now now you've got him out there singing Eminem. Like, whoa, wait a minute. This is okay. You've got talent of memorization. You've got tone, but come on. How about Hotel California or something?
Well,
that's a
Bishop,
heroin song. Probably not a great idea.
respectfully, he's closer to my age than your age. Canadian Jeff can probably relate here. We know all the Eminem lyrics, and we've always wanted to demonstrate how well we know them. It could be that he got carried away and was like, I'm a billionaire. I'm going to show him what I got and fucked up. Or it was intentional and he just wanted to clip because all bad news is still good news. But I can't blame the dude, and I probably do the same thing because this looks like oh shit, crap, no, stop.
Now, his marketing's pretty good. He's done well because you can, as long as you're in the news every day, you've done your job, really. But what it is it's like a Napoleon syndrome, okay? You ever play football with your little brother, sister, your friend's little brother, and he tries really, really hard, but then someone just like walks up, grabs a football right in front of his face, and just basically runs it the other direction? That's like Trump, okay? And Vivek's trying so hard because he doesn't have any clue how he would ever pull as much as he can away, and he obviously can't beat him unless somehow he's the Republican guy and Trump's not. And then even then, more people would write Trump in than would vote for Vivek. So it's like there's a bait pool of fish swimming around the ocean, and that's MAGA. People like Vivek come up and they're little like billionaire sharks that take a couple bites out of the bait pool, and that's the voters.
Anybody old like me remember?
Right here, buddy. Right here.
Clinton? Yeah. So Clinton pulled the same thing when he whipped out a saxophone on the Arsenio Hall show. That helped him jump up quite a bit.
Joseph, you've just I'm saddened to remember that Arsenio Hall's show used to be a spot where the president had to go. And that you've also reminded me that Bill Clinton was the idiot that went to an MTV forum and stood up on national television or really global television so a child could stand up and ask him what kind of underwear he wears. And he answered.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's kind of sad, but just bringing up the point of what he did. Not a fan by any means, but yeah, that's what they do. They any way they can jump out in front of the public.
Mr. Fisher, good morning.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning, Punchbowl. You brighten my world.
John, where you been? John, stop
I
laughing.
sound
Where you
I
been, John?
sound better in the shower, Bishop. I promise you.
You
Wait, are
said
we in
you
a
was
shower
going
with
for
John?
cigarettes and milk. You said you was going for cigarettes and milk, and it's been weeks. Where you been, John? I missed you. Do you want to see the Legos I made?
In the words of Aaron Tapp, shut up.
Shut up, John. Corner.
Shut up, John.
Wait, are we in the shower with John? Is that what he just
I think
told
so.
us?
Maybe.
Exactly. Hey, listen up, guys and gals. I came into this space and you're talking about conservative Republican stuff, Trump stuff, MAGA stuff, all that good stuff. I want to make an announcement. I posted something down in the bubble. Brandon Straka is the walkaway guy, and he's been a pretty prominent Twitter space or now X space kind of guy. And he's doing a walk-a-con. He's with the walkaway. He's the one who started walkaway for the Democrats to walk away from everything that they've got going on and come over to the conservative movement. So he's doing an event down here in West Palm Beach in November, and it's taken off. It's starting to spread like wildfire, and a lot of people are coming down. And I'm down here, with the REC, Republican Executive Committee, and I've got my own organization, TrueAmericanFund.com, and we can spread the word, and we are spreading the word. So it's taken off, and I think this is what I think. What a beautiful idea to have a punch bowl presence at this event in November. So think about that. Look at the information. There's some great speakers that are going to be at this event. It's at the Hilton in West Palm Beach. Great hotel, great complex to have an event. So look at it, and Bishop, consider that, spreading the word, the Punch Bowl word. Get a Punch Bowl team together to come down and represent the Punch Bowl at this event in November. And what the hell, what's better than coming to Florida, right? So anyway, just wanted to
So
drop that
it's
seed.
certainly one of those things we can look into who Brandon Starka is, what he's been associated with, that sort of thing. Look at his reach, see if it's different from ours, and then see if it's worth it putting something together to go with that. But we definitely got to do some research first. Um, if anyone ever has anything like this, please feel free, hit us up at the Punchbowl TM in our direct messages so we can work this behind the scenes.
I think James R. had said something that he's trying. I think he's looking for donations to fund his trip. So I think James R. is going to be there. But it's supposed to be a pretty big event. I think I already seen the lineup.
Yeah, he's pumping it. He's pumping it hard too. Yeah.
Laura Trump's supposed to be there, right?
I think so. I think she's one of the speakers.
Actually, I'm going to go and say it. The Punch Bowl has never sold anywhere near enough anything to ever break close to a profit, even 1 penny. So there's no fucking way we're flying down to another state, the group of us. But it sounds good, John. What's the proper way to say sorry, too broke?
What's the airline, Spirit or Frontier, where you fly with the sheep and the goats and the chickens? I think we can afford that one.
That's got to be Spirit.
Round trip, round trip for $49.99.
I can't ever find this dude ever speaking in our spaces. Why is that?
Spirit has got to be the worst airline I've ever flown on. I've been canceled on a few Spirit trips where I've had to walk up to the counter and say, okay, my flight's been canceled. What airline are you going to get me on? And they look at me like, what? Get you on another airline? No. You got to book another airline yourself, pal. Read the fine print.
Listen here, they tell you shut up, sit down beside the chickens.
Exactly.
So other than that, what have you been doing, John?
As little as possible, Jeff. I'm retired. That's the retired life.
You used to come in here like every day, dude. What happened?
Well, I'm running for county commissioner now, so I'm out there campaigning. I'm on the campaign trail, which means I got to shake hands and kiss babies.
We missed
Yeah,
you. We thought you were mad at us.
damn. Even Peter Ducey reports in every day.
Oh,
Then you show up and you're like, here's some other person's stuff. Like, damn, I feel used, John. I feel used.
I'm a new man.
Jump in there, Kat.
Good morning, you
Good
guys.
morning.
I don't know if any of you guys went on that space last night. Kind of a big heavy hitter had it. It was Senator Colton Moore from Georgia was on there. He is. I just wanted to throw a little happy news. Maybe it's. I say it's probably a hairy edge happy news. He's literally trying to defund the investigation that that DA out of Atlanta has going to actually defund the DA's office and the investigation. And he said he's been getting he was very open about it, said he's been getting some resistance from even some of the Republicans, but it's not for lack of support of Trump. It's literally like the cancel culture fear. They're afraid of the back blow, blowback, what the fuck, blowback from it. And, so he's basically telling him, do your job or else. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. He was pretty open about it. Don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but he's given it a shot. Young guy, pretty sharp. He had a lot of good things to say. He was very on top of his game. So maybe Georgia won't be as bad as it appears. So, and he said it's just a joke. He said the charges in the indictment are an absolute just shit show.
Yeah, somebody came in like day one or hour one and peeled that case apart in like 5 minutes. And here it was hilarious. I was like, oh, that's fun. I didn't even have to look into it.
Yeah, because reading an indictment is like mind numbing at best.
I have a
What do you
program
think,
for that.
Kat? What state's next after Georgia? Which state's next? Arizona,
I heard
Michigan.
Hobbs is gonna trying to pile on now.
I was thinking that too, Jeff. I was thinking Arizona. Yep.
Yeah, an article came out yesterday. I could probably locate it if I tried hard enough. But yeah, Hobbs at least is planning.
Can't remember who coined the phrase or the quote, but a secret grand jury could indict a ham sandwich.
I think it was isn't it Dershowitz? I think he was saying you can indict anything. You can indict a piece of paper. It's whether it stands in court is where it matters. But by the way, John, kudos on the local getting locally involved. That's awesome.
Thank you, Kat.
He just wants the free donuts. Don't listen to him.
Exactly. Especially the cream-filled ones and the strawberry ones, strawberry jam. Oh my God.
Oh God, the donut thing, that was so hilarious.
John, what's the laugh? What was the you was promoting? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Promoting?
You know your merch, the socks and the shirts and stuff. What organization is that?
That's I actually should add that to my campaign. But
Yes, you should add that as a link. Yeah, we could. My toes are actually cold right now, and I might need me some of those. What was it? TPM or what is it? PVM? I don't know. What was the acronym?
PBJs, peanut butter and jelly.
Get out of here. That's not it. I'll have to look down your profile and I'll let you know. All right, Chad. What did you walk into today?
I don't know. I love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
You missed beef stew earlier
Beef stew.
for
He sounds
breakfast.
Didn't
nice
eat
than
more.
Tap.
Do what?
Oh,
What's it?
hold on a second, John. That was True American Fun. You said it earlier. TAF.
Oh, TrueAmericanFun.com. Yeah, that's an organization my partner and I started up down here, and we do events, and we try to make it all patriotic and non political, content, and just getting people together to have good patriotic fun. All parties, Democrats to NPAs, no party affiliation, the neutral independents, and then Republicans. Get them all together and try and just have good, clean, patriotic fun.
I just talked to a guy. He's got a bus in his backyard that hasn't run in a couple years, but we think we can get it running and get down there. We currently have an old Daisy air rifle. We're going around and taking care of the mouse problem. That's going to be resolved. Also, we're gonna eat really good this afternoon. Gonna fire up the Traeger. But yeah, other than that, we're trying to get ready. Punch Bowl. We're coming down south. John, bring your banner.
Tap, see if you can get the bus painted up as like the Partridge Family bus.
Let me see what spray paints I got here in the garage already. I'm trying to keep this cost low, brother.
A big ass creamsicle.
It'll be 18 different colors. It'll be poor man's camo, but it'll work.
Pretty much. What's with the windows? Oh, that's plastic wrap.
My window don't work. Fix it.
Duct tape fixes everything.
Chad, we're talking about Walk-A-Con with
That's what I
Brandon
thought.
Straka.
Yeah, this shit show. I was in a space last night, and apparently we're having a party that everybody's coming out with indictments. I don't understand. Something about a velvet rope and licking windows. I don't know.
Chad just doesn't know how to have a good time.
I bet I have more on my rap sheet than you, Tap.
Yes, you absolutely do.
I'm a damn good
But
time.
I will always take opportunities for
You
sarcasm.
sound like a good time.
I don't know, Brandon. This is turning into quite the shit show for Walk-A-Con, but it should be fun. I think I'm going. He wants me to talk, but I can't because Red Voice and Brennan Struck have a beef.
He has never spoken in any of the Punchbowl spaces or retweeted any of our shit. So I'm kind of like, but I'm the petty person on the brand.
But to be fair, Brennan Struck doesn't wake up until 1.
I think he knew exactly what he was doing. I think turning to a Democrat was planned, just like a bunch of the other grifters. I think he's playing his niche. I would never give him 1 ounce of like money or attention. And yeah, I'm pretty honest about that sort of stuff. But I do like Red Voice Media, and you should totally check out their stuff, include following them. Those are on stage, and also follow their rumbles.
I will say this, Brandon, I wasn't overtly about because of what happened on January 6th, and that's his beef with Red Voice because Red Voice Media wrote an article about him when he gave his testimony, and kind of loose lips sink ships kind of a thing. He kind of turned evidence on other people as to who was there and things like that. And there's a lot of conjecture, but I will say this: I've got to know Brandon. I like Brandon. He's funny. He's got that gay arrogance that can be funny at a party. And I don't have any ill will towards him at all. But he wants Red Voice to take down these articles, but they're never going to do that. So you won't see him on Red Voice anytime soon. But as you know, Brandon and I don't have beef. But at the same time, this whole walk away, I like the idea of it. And there are some I know people that were part of Walkaway. Tracy Beans was part of Walkaway and building Walkaway in the beginning. She's a good friend of mine here in South Carolina. So I'm kind of on the fence with it all. And at the end of the day, I try to go off of the person I know, not the person I'm told to know. And Brandon has been all right.
Yeah, I don't trust
It's a
him.
very interesting conversation in regards to trusting. And Tap, you mentioned the word grifter and those that have switched and possibly did it because of grifting. And what I find interesting about that is down here in the south end of the state of Florida, with regards to people who are running for office now, and you know, people come to find out that they just switched parties. They only have been a Republican for, say, 10 months. And so they're suspect, like they haven't proven themselves yet as far as, why did you switch? And are they a grifter? And are they a rhino? you know, as far as suspicion goes. What are their motives for switching parties? And are they a true Republican versus being a rhino? So all these questions come to mind and suspicions and what have you, as far as why people do what they do, and why they switch and what their motives are and what have you. So it's a very weird point in time in our country's history.
I mean, I'm on board with it. Right now, I'm playing I'll do other sides. I'll make the devil's arguments. Maybe I'll vote for Trump. Maybe I won't. and then I'll just double down and vote for Trump here in a couple months, and then I'll market that I was for Trump. I was the biggest person for Trump. I'll sell Trump flags. I'll sell anti-DeSantis flags. Like, maybe I'm too cynical. Maybe I see how everything plays, so I see it from that vein. But I just, yeah, it just, and especially this week. This week, especially going back to Sunday, there's been so many plugs for other brands, and it does kind of make me want to be like, it's good. But I understand that people are passionate about their stuff. But yeah, there's also like I just as much as I want to promote other people's stuff, I also don't want to remain quiet if something doesn't align with my values. I don't think Brandon does, for me personally, for Tap for Nerd.
I can appreciate that. And again, you know, when it comes to Chad Caton, I felt the same way when I first met Brandon and having met him at events. But since then, my thing is I don't really trust anybody, so there's that. But um, I'm also somebody that consults and is in the political lexicon, like not just for media. And one thing I have learned is anybody that can bring people to the party in any way, we have to get that concept of big tent back, moving in a direction of conservatism, or so anybody that can motivate people to get involved. I've realized that you can't push back on how they get there, but if they get there and it can help the movement, it's not weird for me to swallow what I think as to is not necessarily kosher in my world, but be excited about them bringing and having people engage in our political lexicon, especially on the conservative side. I'm trying to choose my words correctly because I haven't finished my coffee, but I'm really trying to what I'm trying to say is that my beliefs and who people are and what I hold to be important, like you do, Tap, I've had to kind of push aside because I'm in a position that I'm trying to motivate people to get involved. And just like I say with QAnon, okay, you guys got involved. You were a bunch of housewives that got bored and started researching and retired dudes and all that, but it's gone too far. But at the same time, I'm glad they started learning about their political shit that's going on, and however their eyes are open. My problem with it is get off of spaces, quit jacking each other off, and start getting involved to fix the problem. Now that you know what it is, that's my thing. And Brandon does have events, and he does motivate people, and he gets people involved in that movement. Whether or not he's making money on it, there's a lot of people make money in the Republican politics that I often wonder, you know, who's really a grifter and who's not. That's why you don't see me selling anything, although I probably should. I'm dumb for not doing it because I do have a product, and you know, it is what it is. But it's amazing how we can use the word grifter in politics when we are also known as proud capitalists. I find it to be a little hypocritical. Now, the idea of grifter to
There,
me is like Bill Mitchell saying, hey, everybody, go fund me and move me to Washington so I can get closer to the shit. But I'm going to move to Miami and get a slingback thong and walk around like a fucking tool in dad shoes, New Balance dad shoes that he mows his grass in. That's a fucking grifter. Okay. The fact that Jenna Ellis is a millionaire lawyer and is now being brought into this, and she's got a GoFundMe for $58,000 for her defense. I mean, if people are willing to pay it, I ain't mad at Jenna. I'm mad at people for being that dumb.
Chad, there is grifting in politics. Like people who run in districts, they know they're going to lose in just to raise the money. Like what, Stacey Abrams? I mean, you don't have to look too hard.
Well, I've ran candidates that aren't necessarily, you know, there's always the long shot. Everybody wants to be the election heard around the world, if you will. Somebody had no chance and actually wins. But you're right. There are people that run, but it can also, the bully pulpit's a big thing. There's a lot of people that have ran for office that have brought things to the forefront in a lot of different areas, be it county council, be it state, be it national, you know. there's tons of people want me to run for against Lindsey Graham because I'm his biggest pain in his ass. And people are like, dude, it would be awesome if you ran against Lindsey Graham. But at the same time, I don't want to put me and my family through that. I've been offered, somebody put $100,000 cashier check and said, this is to start your thing. And we have a bunch of people that will get behind this. And I'm like, no. Plus he's got $53 million. 100,000 is a long way from 53 million. So, you know, there are opportunities to bully pulpit somebody. Look at who Lindsey ran against him. He was a Democrat. What's his name? And Lindsey was freaking out because he thought he was going to lose. But now he's the head of the DNC. So there's a lot of opportunity in running in different ways to not necessarily make money off of it, because they really don't. You can't just take the money out of the money that you take in. You have to be able to prove that that money went to something, or it has to stay in your coffers. Unless you're running for Congress, Senate, or something like that, then I think it's 10 or 20% because it is a full-time job. So if you make $1 million, you get 100 grand. You know, in your coffee, you make 100 grand that you can actually write yourself a check, because it is a full-time job to run for senator, House, in the federal government.
Yeah, there's people that make entire careers out of never winning an election. It's weird.
There is, and I'm not saying those people don't exist, but I'm just saying there are different levels of running. You know, we ran Lynn Wood against Drew McKissick here in South Carolina. Lynn had no chance in hell, but he sure shit brought the light to who Drew McKissick is, and opened up a lot of people's eyes here in South Carolina. So, and we were able to use his celebrity to put South Carolina on the national map, because the Chamber of Commerce owns all the local media here. So the plan that we had with Lynn worked until he went full psycho and stupid.
Interesting conversation, and we're at a very interesting point in time politically in this country, is in regards to money and how much money you have to raise and all that. I'm running for a seat on the county commission down here, District 5, and there's a girl that won the last election for District 4, and she was a nobody. And the person she was running against, much like the one that I'm running against, was an entrenched Democrat career politician and had money out the gazoo. The guy that she ran against outspent her 12-1. For every $1 she raised, he had 12. So, and she beat him by 3,000 votes. And I love the stories of who's the truck driver, Joe the truck driver up in the Northeast, that 175 bucks. That's all he had, and he won against an entrenched Democrat. So yeah, it's a weird point in time politically in this country, as far as money goes, and how much money you have to raise, and the power of having money in your war chest and all that, versus those that win with 175 bucks. Yeah.
As far as the analytics go, anything within a county, city race, the term "you can't buy that election" is still pretty prevalent. The little guy can always play in the school boards, can always play in county council, and the reason for that is community. I always say, you know, Washington's easy because Nancy Pelosi doesn't give a shit what anybody in this room says about her. But each individual in here, their county councilman may really have a problem with you saying things. Local politics is skin on skin. It's real close, real up close battle. And that, you know, anybody can win a fight when you get in the ring, right? You know, even what was Mike Tyson's, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. You know, that's kind of the way local politics is. But when you're working a district for, say, a congressional race, and even worse, a Senate race across the state or a statewide seat, that's where the big money comes into play. And that's really where it's interesting, because you'll see good people that can that are good stewards as county councilmen or school board, and they can't get that bump up into to run for Congress or something like that, because the establishment doesn't want them. And if the establishment doesn't want them, that's where I tell people to take over your GOP. That is the gate, if you will, to move to the district and national, state elections, not national elections, but statewide elections to get Senate or House or anything in Washington. That's where the big get is. You got to get through that gate. And the thing is, we take over all these GOPs, and those GOPs are saying, fuck your gate. We want that good dude that's been down here doing a good job. We want him to be a congressman now. Then that's where the money comes in. And when the money stops for those district races, it makes it almost impossible for the good guy to get ahead. But in those commission races in those those cities, whoever outworks the other one and can actually build real rapport with the voter, that's where it's at. The ground game's everything for your local races.
So, John, how do you like your chances in your race?
I think I got a pretty good shot. I'm pounding the right drums. And as far as using key buzzwords like, something I haven't seen local politicians do as far as referring to budgets, like our budget's $6.7 billion. That's billion with a B for a county, okay? Palm Beach County, $6.7 billion. And staff wants to add another billion to that. So staff is what feeds the commissioners the information that the commissioners need to make to make votes on budget concerns, budget items, and what have you. And staff, I've always looked at staff as a special interest group. And I was staff. I was a paramedic, fireman, a captain in the fire department for 27 years. So I know how the game is played on that side of the fence as far as making a case for your budget that the commissioners have to vote on. So I'm using that as well in my campaign to say that I know how the game is played. That's why you should vote for me. And I also know too, and this is another key buzzword that I'm using, is you have to drain your own swamp before you get to DC swamp. Everybody knows about DC swamp, but every town, every city, every county in the United States, and it's my contention that they have their own swamp that they got to drain first, and then you go to DC. It's like the cart before the horse. If you try to drain DC swamp first. So I think I got a pretty good shot at it, and I'm raising funds too. And that little 3-minute patriotic performance that I do, dressed as American colonial soldier from the 1700s, I'm using that to go national with my fundraising, to get somebody in Tulsa, Oklahoma to throw $5, $10, $15 my way. Watch this video. If you like what you see, consider throwing a couple of bucks my way. Palm Beach County is ground zero for the conservative movement. We got Mar-a-Lago right down the street. So I'm pumping that, trying to use that, thinking outside the box, creative ways to fundraise for my own campaign thing. So, and once again, I think I can do it with a limited amount of financial resources. Like I said, Joe, the truck driver, did it with $175. The girl in the district next to me, she did it when she was outspent 12-1. So, playing that theory, and I think I'm going to do pretty good. Fingers crossed.
John, is your county or your county seat, is it administrative run government, like you said?
Administrative government?
Administrative ran government, meaning you have an administrator that is really the only person that the commissioners or councilmen have actual control of. And then it's administrator run down. So everything under the county is ran under the administrator.
That's a great question, Chad. And yes, the answer is yes. We have a county administrator who is like the town manager, city manager, if you will. And everybody operates underneath them. They're the boss of all of the dog catcher, the fire department, the police department, tax collector. Well, actually, no, the tax collector is an elected official. But yeah, county administrator. And our county administrator, and this is another thing I'm using too, as far as the budget goes. Our county administrator has a salary of $350,000 a year. That's their salary, $350,000. So when I'm out there doing my campaign speeches at these local club meetings, I asked the audience, who here would like to make $350,000 a year salary? And naturally, everybody raises their hand. So, yeah, I'm putting a little heat on the county administrator too. And the county administrator comes to and makes a case for their budget. And like I said, 6.7 billion. They want to raise it another billion. And they're a special interest group. So I'm pounding that drum and putting heat on the county administrator. So hopefully if I get elected, we'll fire that one because they're a liberal. They're not anything along the lines of a conservative county administrator. They're not looking out for the taxpayer's pocket or purse. They're looking out for their own ass and the people underneath them as far as their jobs go. So special interest group, yeah.
County administrator ran civil governments are very dangerous. And the reason for that is that county administrator is basically God. Everything is underneath him, and a lot of people think county councilmen, and please, I understand the commissioner is just what I'm used to as council, makes it easier for a lot of other people too, but that it could be 8, 12 people depending on where you're at, but those people, the only person they really can dictate as far as someone's job is in fact the administrator. Granted, they can be there when they meet the police chief, the fire chief. There's council, public safety committees that will be a part of those hirings, but ultimately it's the administrator. And those administrators can become iron-fisted and really, really, really screw up your government underneath you because they can make sure that they're getting the budget that they want for here or there. And at the same time, no county council has a hard time looking at their administrator and saying this guy's a piece of shit when he's the only person that they actually hire. It's a bit of a dichotomy that people don't understand in our government when you have an administrator ran government. So you're in a pickle down there, John, and I've taken out 3 county councilmen in 3 different counties in the administrator ran because really you being a fire captain, if you get your local fire and police around it, each firefighter is worth 10 or 20 votes, and those guys get around what you are and what you want to represent. That's usually how you can take them down because fire and police are usually the biggest part of as far as budget goes for a council. So just something we've learned up here, but that administrator ran government is sick. Those administrators are usually pretty big pricks.
True that. And what's interesting about police and fire, which I was a union guy, okay? And traditionally, unions back the Democrats. The Democrats have always been very supportive of unions, especially police and fire. So it's a tricky situation as far as being a conservative now and towing that line. And sometimes I look at that in the vein of who's going to be suspicious of me as far as me being a quote unquote rhino. If I was, towing the Democrat liberal line as far as the union politics go for 27 years, and now I'm switching, now I'm going over to the conservative side, people are going to look at me with a raised eyebrow possibly and say, what is this guy's motives? Here I am saying, using the 27 years that I was on the other side of the fence as part of staff underneath the county administrator, and I know how the game is played. And now I'm a turncoat all of a sudden, so it's very, very, like I said before, a very interesting time in politics in our country.
It's funny, John, you say drain the swamp, and everybody says drain the swamp. I was actually out at a swamp called Keeney Swamp one time. I'm out there fishing, and the DEC guy shows up with a damn pitchfork. Cleans out the culvert, gets all the trash out of there. The swamp drains. It's not as hard when you're doing a real swamp as freaking DC, but holy cow, you guys are fighting an uphill battle. I'm happy that you're doing it, because I certainly can't.
That's an interesting comparative, Jeff. And yeah, the whole term swamp, I've always wondered, like, what is the swamp? What the hell are they talking about? What is a deep state? What is a swamp? And when I read the Federalist Papers and that one quote from Benjamin Franklin, "Are we a democracy or are we a republic?" And he said, "A republic if you can keep it." My interpretation of that, reading the Federalist Papers, is that our founding fathers back then, they didn't have all the 3-letter agencies, the FBI, the FAA, the FDA, all the I think we got over 143 letter agencies now. And there's your over bloated bureaucracy of a government, the fat, the swamp, deep state. And that's the draining of that. There's a sheriff's race down here in South Florida, in Palm Beach County. And I just watched the debate between two guys that are running for sheriff, and they were talking about the waste and the sheriff's budget. And the sheriff brags about having a forensic team, a forensic unit that is second to none, other than the FBI's forensic unit. So when you look at it in that context, all these sheriffs around the country, all of these police agencies that have a forensic office, a lab, whatever you want to call it, that is basically the same as the FBI's. Why do we need so many forensic? If they're providing the same level of service that the FBI provides as far as a forensics lab, why do we need the FBI? Why can't each state provide their own forensic, service, forensic analysis service, laboratory service, if they're providing the same or very close to the FBI? So there's your over bloatedness again, the swamp.
Yeah, see, that's why it's a fear-driven society, because in order to have all these different things that are going to save you from yourself, they have to scare you to it. Fear's a powerful tool they use all the time. If you don't believe it's a powerful tool, just look at the West Coast, at what's going on there, and do yourself a favor. Go over to your little computer thingy and type in, does the West Coast ever get hurricanes? Read the first 1,000 articles. Get back to me. No, I'm kidding. But seriously, that's not normal, guys. And so what they're going to do is they're going to switch that over and use it for it's climate change. So they're fear-driven. The West Coast is already so far liberal, like, shouldn't be too hard to scare the shit out of them and get some laws changed. So buckle up.
Well, Jeff, we were talking about I just want to point something out because it's kind of Freudian, really, in how we talk about our politics. John and I were speaking specifically to draining the local swamp and the positions and how that government works. Like I say all the time in my show, learn the game, play it better, kick their ass. I had to learn what an administrative reign government was. I had to learn the nuances of how to take out a county chairman. And then when you talked about the guy with the pitchfork, you went right to it's an uphill battle. You appreciate us doing it. And then you mentioned DC again. That's the thing I'm trying to get through people's head. Forget DC exists. Focus on your county chairman. Focus on your county sheriff. Focus on your county school board. Those are things that are not an uphill battle. A lot of these county chair seats or a lot of these county council seats in a town of or a county of 300,000 people, it's not weird for the winning chairman to win by or to have 1,400 votes to win. It's not that hard. It's work. And if you look at the county, especially in non-presidential years, like the midterm county seats, those are the easiest to take because people aren't paying attention. You need to find their ceiling, especially for an incumbent, and get one more and you win. It's really that simple. We have done it all over South Carolina. We've probably put 55 different council seats, people in council seats. We have 30 different legislators that we've worked with. And when you build that county council and you start having that influence in different county councils, what is politics? It's political fear and political influence. And as long as they fear you, you have their influence and you have their opportunity to sit and talk to them. And when I say fear, it's just because you're organized and it's a group you don't want to upset, i.e. firefighters or police or the base in your abortion base, or if you're a conservative and whatnot. But to look at it as an uphill battle is what 90% of the United States is looking at, because they're looking at what's happening in Washington. John Fischer and what he's trying to do is much more allocated to something that he understands. He was a firefighter. He understands the backside of that. He understands how the inflated budget is for stupid shit, just like he was talking about. He understands what's necessary for Palm Beach to be successful. He, especially being a firefighter, he was out there every day in that. He knows every street. He knows every building. He knows every drug house. He knows where all of that is. That's why firefighters, police have a tendency to run for office and do very well. But everyone in this room knows their community. And it's amazing to me how we want to worry about Nancy Pelosi instead of worrying about Tom, Dick, and Harry that's sitting up there on the county council, which is more than likely 60% to 70% of the taxes that you bitch about every day. It makes it easy to look at Biden and to say that our gas price is up, inflation's what it is, because that's the cherry on top of the people that are sitting there, the fat cats sitting behind the dais in your county that are really sticking it in your ass. That's why I don't understand. It's really not a big hill. It's not a big swamp. We just need more than one guy with one pitchfork.
So, Chad, getting down to the grassroots and the bare bones and the lower level government, which many of us are so freaking ignorant to, and I'll be the first to say that I'm one of those. I think a lot of us as Americans, we understand upper level government, and that's why we keep falling back to that, which is, that's the no. We got to stop doing that. I agree with you. But in reality, how much time do you think it's going to take us to turn this ship around? I mean, realistically, what do you think we're looking at?
You mean the ship as in the United States?
Correct.
It's, shit, I hate these questions because I don't want to lie to you.
I know it's just a generalization, but I mean, there's got to be some kind of plan or an idea out there that's going to tell us, okay, it's going to take 10 years, it's going to take 15 years to turn this thing around and right it. And, that might be something that's going to have to be acceptable because of the shape that this country is already in.
The real answer to that is not a time. I can't even give you a generalization, but I can give you an event. This country is going to fall on either a huge or a small critical fail. We can't wake up enough people because, again, everybody's looking to Washington. The county councils. Remember when everybody said, where did Soros get all of these AGs? Nobody was paying attention. Again, it's our fault because of apathy. We can't fix that overnight. And the only way, and I've just started using it as a, for instance, but can anybody in this room give me a time, date, or a year when this country was unified to the point where we could go against anybody?
I heard you say 9/12.
9/12. Because of 9/11, which was a critical fail. 9/12 unified this country. Not for long, because they quickly divided us again. But we have to get back to some semblance of unification under something. And unfortunately, our politics right now is so resonant and divisive that it's only making things worse. And sometimes when things start getting worse in a position like I am, in how I think and how I do my politics, and as a leader, I look at it like, okay, let's eliminate as much collateral damage as possible. Be ready. And when critical fail happens to the point where mass numbers of people in this country are going, what the fuck, and are angry to the point where they know they have to be involved, is where we make sure that we are positive in how that message is put out in order to guide that anger, that fear into the right way for us to take back our country. I don't believe it's going to be a chip away. We missed that boat. But hopefully on the scale of critical fail, it can go on the lower end of it. And that's why I keep believing that if people get involved, we can minimize that as much as possible. But I don't think there's going to be an overt way for us to take back our country. until something big enough happens to unite a lot of people.
Can't argue with that. Sir John, you going to tell us about some hard times?
Actually, I'd like to tie in that. 9/12 and also Pearl Harbor. But these were events that brought us into war against other countries. So we need something that's going to, energize us into taking back this country. So it's a different kind of war, as far as getting us all together. And Jeff, that was a great question. And as it relates to history too, and what Benjamin Franklin said as far as a republic, if you can keep it, our founding fathers did a deep dive study on all previous democracies, all previous republics, and how they had risen and how they had fallen. And you've heard people, say that the average life of a democracy is 200 years, 250 years, which we're at that point now. And it's like the question of how do we right the ship, it is you'd have to go back in history to all those previous democracies and all those previous republics. Has it ever been done before they had fallen? Is there one civilization, one populace, one government, whatever you want to classify it as, that righted the ship? Is there a historical precedence that's been set, and how did they do it? You'd have to kind of go back in history to, has it ever been done? Has that ship ever been righted before they had fallen? And I don't know of one, but and maybe we'll be the first. Who knows?
No, John, they haven't. And to your point earlier about Ben Franklin, they were worried that people were largely not intelligent enough to take part in representative government. And you're right, they had studied history. And the reason he said, if you can keep it, is because they paid particular attention to the old Greek governments, right? And of course the Roman Empire. But the Greek governments taught them that governments they don't fix themselves, they change. That democracy becomes tyranny, tyranny becomes this, republics move into these forms. And I think Chad is onto something, which is, for one, right now, I would ask anybody to not prognosticate until next year is over. This is about to be the hairiest year and a half we have had in the last 25 years. Everyone should be buckled up. This is like 5 point harness time, right? Once we get, I think like next year, sometime during the process, we could maybe have some fun looking into the future. But notice, even then, John, Ben Franklin, he didn't want to look into the future. That lady asked him to make a prediction. He's like, lady, we'll see what happens.
That's hilarious the way you phrase that or paraphrase that. Yeah, guys, the Roman Empire was like 1,000 years. Let's not give up completely here.
No, yeah, you guys are right, and you also have to look at it in the context of our history. When those conversations were being had with our founding fathers before our Constitution, there were politicians that there were 4 separate territories that politicians wanted to have basically 4 separate countries within our country. So if you think we're divided now, oh my God, you talk about division, and then go into the Civil War. That was the creme de la creme as far as division goes. So we've never really had a total unification, a history of unification, 100% unified country, with all of the different regions and the territories and the jealousies. They talk about the jealousies in the Federalist Papers, which was the precursor to our Constitution. So we still have those jealousies between the North and the South, the East and the West. And thank God for the Electoral College to balance that all out.
All right, I can't resist. The Rome lasted for nearly 1,000 years. The Roman Republic lasted for a couple centuries. And the rest of those 1,000 years were various dictators, Caesars, emperors, right? The last 400 or 500 years are just emperors, these horrible people that wind up in a position of power over this gigantic crumbling empire. But their republic itself barely lasted a couple of centuries before a guy that Shakespeare taught us about, Julius Caesar. But Athens, the democracy that everybody talks about, like, oh, we based our political organization on this one, that lasted decades. So again, I think it's a buckle up moment.
With that, though, when you know, and I think you're right, prognosticating about. That's why I tried to stay away from it, Samuel, because it's futile, and the whole thing that worries me is whenever there's a vacuum and you remove the plug to the vacuum, something's got to fill it. So in a lot of cases, that's what's happened. I mean, we do it all the time with our CIA. Look at Libya, look at Iraq. We take out dictators that we thought were dictators, and it puts other people that are worse in place. That's what scares me at each time we get to a critical fail in the even in its term critical fail, something has to move in to stop it or to fix it, or and that's what worries me. That's where we see governments make knee-jerk reactions to let's be more progressive, let's be more this way, so that this doesn't happen again, because we have again the knee-jerk reaction as to why did that critical fail happen. We could look at, no matter what you think about 9/11, if you break it down to its minutia, what our CIA does and has done caused foreign people to believe that they needed to attack us. You can break it down however you want, but when we get to that critical fail, whatever that may be, and I agree with you, buckle up. What happens in the leadership that comes out of that critical fail is whether or not our republic will maintain and still be.
Well, they'll take advantage of opportunities, and yeah, I don't know how bad everything's going to happen over there on the West Coast, but they're not built for hurricanes. Like, they're tile roofs and stuff like that. It's not going to be good over there. Probably flooding. So they're going to take advantage of that and push those policies, and they'll continue to do that with any disaster that happens. It's just what they do. Take advantage. It's like corporate. It's capitalism.
To your point, Jeff, I'm starting to recently think about these topics in the terms of the left and their fear factor, fear mongering, in the context of the climate control stuff, as far as them getting governmental control and using the fear factor. It's like laws, rules, constitutions, that's all out the window. We don't got to follow any constitution or rules or laws. We're saving the planet. That's the most imperative thing, and the most important thing we're faced with is climate control and saving the planet. So rules, laws, constitutions, no way. We don't have to follow that.
Same
Let's
thing
be
with war.
equal up. Yeah, let's be equal opportunity, right, Jeff? I think your brain and I went to the same place. On 9/12, I woke up and started wondering what the hell is an Al Qaeda and who the hell is an Osama bin Laden. And like by 2, 3 days later, I'd read his fatwa that he had issued to explain like why they were, what was their intent, their motivation. And to John's point about people using fear to get what they want politically, I don't know what you think about Canadians or progressives, but a woman named Naomi Klein wrote a book back in the, I think it was the early 2000s, called The Shock Doctrine. And she can show you real quickly how every government, Republican or Democrat, takes advantage of chaotic moments to legislate, make policy, push in their direction. Some of them wait for these moments, anticipate these moments. Like 9/11 was anticipated. A group called the Project for the New American Century from the middle 90s on were worried. Nobody supports the military industrial complex anymore. We don't have any obvious threats that make it possible for us to ramp up budgets and keep all this going. You heard phrases like, well, how do we fight a two front war? What if there's a two front war? This was constant in the news in the 90s. And the people who ran the Iraq war, right? They were the ones who wrote this paper. I'm thinking of Paul Wolfowitz. I'm thinking of Dick Cheney. I'm thinking of all Brent Scrowcroft, all these guys who then, like ruled our nation for the next 10 years. They were sitting and waiting for something that they called a new Pearl Harbor. And in fact, their paper, the Project for a New American Century, says with not like if we do not get something like a new Pearl Harbor, we're going to have to slash budgets wildly.
Samuel, what you just reminded me of too is something that I've been thinking about lately with regards to 9/11, Osama bin Laden, and all of that. Don't you find it somewhat interestingly odd that for a very long time now there's been no jihadi suicides, no jihadi movement. We haven't heard much from the jihadis, and that was the biggest fear mongering. Wrapped around 9/11 was that the radical Islamic jihad movement was the biggest thing that the world faces. And, has the CIA and all of the intelligence agencies and military institutions put that much of a control grip on the jihadis that they're not even thinking about committing suicide and taking out thousands of people and doing that? I kind of find that odd, as far as where are they all now, the jihadis?
I'm old enough to remember when Ronald Reagan invited Afghan freedom fighters, which is what you would call them in English. If you wanted to use their language, you would call them mujahideen, where you see the word jihad in the middle of that word. I remember when he had them into the White House because they were fighting the good fight against the Soviets. And then I think most of the people in this room, many of you personally are familiar with the Mujahideen when they come back in history.
Good point.
The military industrial complex will always give us an enemy. Remember that. And John, you bring up such a good point. Most Americans didn't understand what jihad, Quran, Mujahideen, Taliban, we didn't know what any of that was. The military industrial complex can always give us an enemy. That enemy is always somebody that we need to stay in a perpetual state of war and readiness because of the military industrial complex. It's the same thing now that we see with our pharmaceutical companies. They need to keep us sick in order for those people to make money. I'm telling you right now, you take K Street in Washington and you drain that swamp, your government takes a very, 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 very different look. K Street is where all the lobbies are. You remove lobbyists from our government, you just found your republic. We want to look towards the elected officials, but the elected officials are the NASCAR teams that are being taken care of by Pfizer, the NRA, whoever. And the idea that a congressman can get his ass whooped and then go be a lobbyist and make $1 bajillion is everything that is wrong with our system in that of lobbying. Now, if you get rid of lobbying, all you're doing is making it go underground. True. But it's a lot harder to keep things underground. Look at the shit that's coming out on Biden and anybody else. Cream rises to the top. But when it comes to who we're going to fight next, I want everybody to remember something. Anytime we're not in a world war, Russia's our enemy. Anytime we're in a world war, Russia's our ally. Remember that. And it just so happens we're looking at Ukraine, we're looking at everything. A lot of Americans are like, look, Russia's not trying to leave the Donbass. And the one thing we can't get out is that I know that area well. I was in Bosnia. I was all through the Balkans. And one of the things people don't realize is that Zelensky was bombing his own people in the Donbass region that consider themselves Russian. Or Russia, they are close to Russia. They are good with Russia. And in 2014, CNN actually has a video on YouTube where they're talking about they're being bombed by their own government. And finally, when Russia found there was a weak enough president that they could do what they wanted to do between Obama taking Crimea and Biden. They went in. Russia has the ability to just sweep through Ukraine. They haven't upgraded the war in any way, shape, or form. And we're not sending them that much shit that's going to really push back on Russia. Russia is protecting the people of the Donbass region, and they're going to envelop the Donbass region as part of Russia like they did Crimea. And whether we like that or we don't like that, I can't blame Russia for looking at the people of Donbass, looking to Russia to protect them from their own government that are bombing them. These are facts. So this is where the military industrial complex wants to turn it into this big war machine that is necessary, because if they go through Ukraine, they're going to take over Europe. They're going to continue going. Anybody that takes 5 minutes and looks at the military capability of Russia, they don't have the military to do that. They would need China. They would need another country to sweep Europe. They haven't had a 52-year buildup, 25-year buildup, 30-year, 2010. They've had zero buildup, really, in order to build their military to the point of world domination. When the Nazis took over, they turned their entire country into a war-building machine in order to build a bigger for the Nazis to take over Europe and further. That's where most dictators fuck up. They try to take too much. That's why dictators that don't try to take anything can be around for years, like Libya, like Iraq. Don't try to take it all, just keep yours. This is where we have the problem. This is where America keeps trying to sell us on bullshit and get us lost in what we're supposed to be paying attention to. And that lobby that is on K Street started what happened in Ukraine. That lobby that is on K Street is doing the gas shit that you're having a problem with right now, is causing that inflation, because those are the people they answer to, not you and me. And that's really the fix for me, and I believe it would be. I'm just not sure how that can happen, really. And we can't take out K Street, so I don't know.
Yeah, Chad, that's a wicked catch-22. What you're describing, everything you're saying is true, and it's what's frustrating to me is, as it alludes to what you said earlier in this conversation about how much money you need to get a congressional seat or anything higher than a county seat or a city seat, municipal seat, when you're getting into state and federal seats, and the money that you need, and to amass a war chest. To win those elections, you can't just rely on Bobby and Susie foregoing their Starbucks cup of coffee and throwing you $5. So you got to rely on the lobbyists and the big money, big pharma, and all these entities that can throw hundreds of thousands of dollars into your war chest, and then you're beholden to them. So there's the catch-22. That it's cyclical. It goes round and round and round. How do you get out of that cycle?
Good morning, Al.
Morning, everybody. Hey, we kind of went past it, so I took my hand down. I must have hit it again and put my hand up, but I'll go back quick if you don't mind. A lot of intelligent people in this room. It's nice to hear a nice, good conversation. You guys talking about, our government was waiting for something to happen so they could, back in the Bush during 9/11. You guys don't think that they orchestrated it? I mean, I believe even Pearl Harbor, why did the Japanese attack us? Because we blockaded them. We were going to starve them of oil, and they couldn't have that. So we forced that to happen so we could get into the World War II. Is that agreed, or?
I agree with that. I agree with that.
I think there's a lot of validity to that.
Here's Owl. Let me phrase this and see if you disagree with me. Like, orchestrate is, I have trouble with that, right? Did George Bush or someone near him say, go hire me a bunch of jihadis to get on airplanes and fly them into targets? I don't want to worry about that. Here's what I do know. Did they take advantage of something that happened afterwards? Yes.
Absolutely.
To your point, after the attack on, because everybody who's, not many of us are old enough, but if you read, you know, nobody wanted to get in on World War II. Most of us were German. They didn't understand why we would be mad at Germans, right? They didn't want to screw with Japan, right? Most people didn't know where the hell Japan was in 1941.
Right.
So they always take advantage of it, and we can't argue about that, can we?
Yeah,
No, I mean,
Al, let me throw another comparative at you to what you just said is the Cuban Missile Crisis. Okay, everybody
yeah,
believed that Russia was impeding upon us with their missiles in Cuba, but nobody realized that we were putting missiles in Turkey and everything around Russia at that time. So
yep.
Kennedy had to negotiate with Khrushchev that we would pull our missiles out of Europe or around Russia in order for them to take their missiles out of Cuba. So yeah, good comparative.
Absolutely, but I want to make something clear. You guys, I'm not old enough to remember it. I read it too. But yeah, the Mujahideen. Remember that Sylvester Stallone movie? When he's Rambo and he's over there in Afghanistan, he was helping the Mujahideen who turned. I ca- I don't know if I want to say they turned into Al Qaeda because they weren't radical like Al Qaeda is, or is maybe Al Qaeda just made me being made to look radical by our government. You know what I mean?
Say that again.
Or does that make any sense?
Say that again.
Well, I'm just saying the Mujahideen is what they say that we helped against the Soviets, and then they are the ones that turned it into Al Qaeda. I mean, we helped them, then we screwed them.
So I'm a big fan of sayings, and because it's amazing how it works. And I was told by an old fire captain of mine that said they're sayings because people have been dumbasses for 200 years. So it really resonates with me. And one of my sayings is in politics, and it works with geopolitical also, is today's friend, tomorrow's enemy, today's friend. It's all dictated on what narrative or what is the overall goal. Again, I said Russia has been a enemy of the state to this country, or something we've worried about for a very long time. But every time we end up in a world war, we are fighting alongside of Russia, or they're part of us. It's today's friend, tomorrow's enemy. Then the minute the world war's over, now all of a sudden we're in the middle of a Cold War.
Well, they had to create, yeah, they had to create that Cold War so they could say, we need money for this. We got to buy this. We got to build up our military. And that's the whole game.
Which goes back to my statement that the military industrial complex will keep us in a perpetual state of scared and war, along with Pfizer will keep us in a perpetual state of sickness. I can't say that completely because I believe in the Hippocratic Oath, and the people that actually have to administer medicine. There are great people out there. That's why we have a longer life expectancy, along with our hygiene and everything else that has moved forward in our world. But you're right. And the Mujahideen, we could say that we made Al Qaeda. There's a ton of that. And then there's also the clandestine world of the CIA, where their job is to meddle in these situations. It's not weird to send in 3 CIA operators and a battalion of Navy SEALs, and in 2 weeks they can overthrow the government. That's a fact.
Oh, well, look at, you mentioned some countries that were, they replaced people running it. Iran is one of the biggest examples to me. If you look at pictures of them back in 1958, 59, just before the 60s, they were modern, they were normal. I mean, I'm not saying they're not normal now, they're whatever. They lock their people up and keep them, but our government didn't want them to nationalize their oil and said, oh, no. And boom, coup, new ownership, boom, look at their country now. But we're the bad guys. I mean, not us, our government. But hey, are you a firefighter?
I used to be. Now I'm a political sex symbol.
Just quickly, I don't want to hold the room. My great-great-grandfather was the fire chief of St. Paul, Minnesota. And my great-grandfather was the fire chief of St. Paul. And both died in fires 33 years to the day apart. why they were going into fires when they were the chief, beyond me, but I don't know how that all works, but just.
Well, I can tell you why. Because your family were what we call pipe swingers, man. They were badass chiefs that went with their men. So if they died in the fire as a chief, that's a great question. But as a firefighter, I've never met them, don't know who they are, but they have my respect because they were where they shouldn't have been because they were probably taking care of their men.
Thanks. I just wanted to say thank you too, and thank everybody. Thanks. I'll shut up now. I've been talking enough.
All right, thank you. Margo, I believe you're up.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I always get in here right before I have a conference call, which is crazy. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about what you're talking about, since my dad was a naval intelligence officer / weatherman. That's what the code was. He's a naval meteorologist. I don't know why naval meteorologists needed to go to Turkey all the time. The code, they were going to Iran. I just think it's funny what you're talking about because we lived it. Like I remember as a kid living in Germany when there was an East Germany and a West Germany, literally my parents would go to the party with the intelligence officers on the East German side once a year. They would go over there and party with them. So I thought was an interesting tidbit. And my father was a part of the getting the Shah out. And it's just amazing to see things unfold when you live through them, but you don't realize what you're living through. And then later you look back on it and you're like, wow, that was insane. And another topic that was being spoke of earlier, which was Chad talking about the cost to do elections. To get a county commissioner seat in this rural area that I live in will run you about, I don't know, $4,000, $5,000. To get a representative seat in the state will cost you $300,000. To get a congressional seat will cost you $900,000 to $1 million. And what we see with candidates in North Carolina is this is how you know it's a scam. They loan themselves money. So they're already rich. They just loan themselves $300,000, $500,000 from their businesses or their personal finances so they can win. And one more tidbit I would like to say about this. I don't know if you're aware of this, and I didn't know this either until I started looking at it because we had Madison Cawthorn as our congressman. And he skipped lines and decided he was going to go to another district and run for Congress, and then quickly hightailed it back up here to run when he realized he wasn't going to win down there. You can run for Congress outside of the district you live in, but you must move to the district after you win. True story.
That moving thing happens all the time. Van Jones did it in Georgia. They moved him over to run against Trump's picked guy when he stopped running for, what was it, governor? Yeah, that happens all the time. If you're running for Congress, you can. I actually interviewed with Graham Allen, the media influencer. He's from Anderson, South Carolina, and he was going to run for the 7th Congressional District here in Oregon County. And I went up and met with him, and I said, you need to move to our county. He goes, I'll do that when I win. And I said, thank you. And I finished my salad and I left. That was it.
I don't think a lot of people realize all the shenanigans that go on behind the scenes, Graham. I mean, Graham was one of those. I was like, wait a minute, weren't you in Texas? Now you're in South Carolina. It's funny to watch them move around the board just to win an election. I agree with you. I watched what happened in Georgia. A lot of them transitioned from different districts to win, but I don't think the average person that just kind of watches politics understands what goes on under the covers. I was the district secretary here, 17 counties, 6,000 miles. Just to watch it unfold is insane. And for those of you that don't know, North Carolina had some huge wins this week in their super majority Republican legislature. We kept women's sports. We went ahead and said we're not going to allow gender affirming surgery for minors. We allowed school choice now. It's vouchers, so you can absolutely go to any school in North Carolina with a voucher, private or public. We did a lot of good things, and there's a lot of good things coming, but they also did some stupid things like open our primaries because we had closed primaries previously. That's going up, but y'all should really, I know it's not a big deal to you, but we're the 9th largest state. We teeter on the Republican side. Trump only won by 3% here. You should keep an eye on what's going on here because it is nuts.
Well, we're
I'm right here with him.
well. I just Wednesday, I spoke to your future governor, Mark Robinson, and we talked about that whole open primary thing because South Carolina is open primary, and I'm actually going to be doing some speaking engagements up there with him, like we did when he was a lieutenant governor. So I'll be traveling around North Carolina with Mark Robinson doing some speaking engagements. We're actually trying to get Matt Couch out here, so we'll see if that doesn't work. But um, Mark does not like open primaries at all, and I think he's crushing everybody right now. I think it's safe to say you're going to end up with a Mark Robinson as a governor. Cooper was in the way, and Mark got more done as a lieutenant governor than Cooper did anything in North Carolina. So I think it's safe to say you're going to end up with a Mark Robinson governor. Everybody keeps thinking he might be on the short list for vice president. He's real focused on being the governor of North Carolina, but that whole primary thing just befuddles the mind. And I think it's because of the South Carolina supermajority and how things have changed by people moving from up north down there. By having open primary, you get Democrats to jump into Republican primary. So your political game changes. Here in South Carolina, we have 4 of the top lowest rated Republicans in the country. And they call themselves Republicans. So be very careful of open primaries. They suck.
So let me just say, first of all, I'm the captain of Mark Robinson's committee here on the far western North Carolina side. I've known him since we went to high school in the same area and knew each other. So I'm very good friends with Mark. But I want to say this. People do not understand how that happened because it was not in the original bill. So it got slipped in there. And we know our GOP chair, which is a lot like the South Carolina GOP chair, a scumbag, we know he wanted that. So we're concerned, and y'all should be watching what happens because people say North Carolina is a pink state or a purple state, and we could really very easily see that happen now.
Is that Watley still?
Watley, who rigged his own chairmanship election with an electronic voting app.
Yeah, him and Drew McKissick touch each other's privates. There's no doubt about it. And Watley was a big machine to help Drew McKissick, the South Carolina chair, because we've exposed him all over the place. He knew his days were numbered, and they made him the co-chair of the National RNC. Plus, he was the director of Romney, South Carolina, which Rona Romney McDaniel. So, Watley actually kicked me out of Lumberton. I had VIP for the Trump when he was there to tell the Lumbee Indians that he was going to make them an official national tribe. It was one of his smaller events because it was there for the Lumbee Indians. And I had these VIP, and Watley tried like hell to kick me out of there. And if it wasn't for Bill Stepien, Trump's senior advisor, because I texted him, I said, I just got kicked out of my seats that you got me with my mother-in-law, father-in-law, my wife. And it was Watley trying to remove me. And I walked back to my seats with Bill Stepien. And I looked at Watley and I winked at him and I said, your days are numbered. And he said, who the fuck are you? And Watley's a bitch, man. Watley is a total punk. And I said, don't worry, I'm going to take you and your butt buddy out in South Carolina. Just hang on. So, yeah, he tried to kick me out of a Trump event. It was hilarious.
Como esta? ML, how's it going?
Hi, good morning, Jeff, Bishop, Marco, everyone. This is just a reminder that the CIA killed my father and my uncle.
Your throat sounds better.
The RFK approach. Yeah, exactly. You're sounding great.
Thank you so much. I've really been working on my voice since my campaign started, and I've used some of the campaign contributions to buy some special Listerine lozenges, which are helping tremendously, as you can tell. Thank you so much. And just a reminder that the CIA killed my father and my uncle.
That's hilarious.
Good morning to everyone.
Good
That's
morning.
funny. Maybe we should take RFK seriously when they assassinate him. Like, if you're a Kennedy and you're alive, do you
How
matter?
dare you? How dare you?
Oh, what?
Well, it seems like the ones that matter, they assassinate, and that's how you know that they matter. And if RFK's alive, why haven't they assassinated him yet? He
Look,
must not
I'm gonna,
matter.
before they get me, I want to take those motherfuckers at Pfizer right down to the ground and drive their heads right into the dirt. Okay. And then after that, everything's fair game. But just a reminder that the CIA killed my father and my uncle.
Well, if we get the medical strike 2 today, we know why on YouTube.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I didn't mean to interrupt this discussion, especially amongst all of you Republican fucks. I'm going to keep listening. I really love you guys. Thank you.
Well, it's cocktail hour somewhere, isn't it?
I'm sorry for disturbing the room. Chad, please carry on. I've seen you in 19 spaces in the last 24 hours, by the way. Anyway, just a reminder, you know who killed my father and my uncle, right?
You sound jealous.
Thank you, dear.
Yeah, that's my point, Margot. If you're a Kennedy and you're alive, do you matter?
Nope.
How dare you?
How many push-ups can you do?
At least 9.
Look, there's a reason my abs are so fucking ripped. I do 900 push-ups every morning and sit-ups.
Oh, come on, man. I watched you try to do 10, and the 10th one, you used your knees. Come on, man.
And you're full of shit. The reason you have abs is because your throat is in a perpetual state of phlegm and you're coughing all the time,
Look,
which gives you
my
good
neck
abs.
is
Shut up.
thicker. My neck is thicker than your waist.
My neck is thicker than your waist.
Does
We got
anybody
Shrek over
remember?
here.
Does anybody remember the Grease Man back up in DC? Does anyone remember that guy? He used to do those great radio shows. Okay, sorry, but your voice sounds like the Grease Man. Nurney, nurney, nurney.
Thank you, dear. I'm going to invite you to my island next month when I have some time off. As soon as I send my wife back to Hollywood, the door's open for you, sweetheart.
You're not my type.
Thank you, dear.
And I've been in 2 rooms last night and 1 today. I'm in the same room every day. How have I been in 24 rooms? Typical Democrat, just like.
Sometimes I lie. I lie because I'm on the campaign trail.
That makes sense. I answered my own question. Thank you for your honesty.
Speaking of lies, in other news, they've dropped some misdemeanors on Hunter Biden, I've noticed.
I read that this morning, man. Can you believe that bullshit?
Yes, I can.
Dismissed.
Don't give up hope just yet. If you tune into one of the cable networks, you will hear them express serious frustration right now. You'll see chyrons that say things like, Trump's still GOP frontrunner despite 4 indictments. They keep saying, like, the guy's got 98 charges against him. 98 charges, for God's sakes. They wandered around the Iowa Fair the other day trying to find somebody who would say something poor about Trump, and nobody would. And my view of this Hunter Biden thing keeps getting more and more foggy, because they did drop the tax charges, but they dropped them in Delaware because they're probably going to get refiled elsewhere. So I don't think this Hunter Biden development continues for me to get more interesting and not more sort of an excuse to give up hope. I think if you were hoping the Bidens were going to get tossed under the bus, I think that bus is coming down the road.
Just something to think about. A lot of people are going at this special or the new special prosecutor, which was the old prosecutor, in David Weiss. And the people thought, with regardless to the amicus, I actually had the author of the amicus brief on my show. David Weiss, when I asked her specific questions about David Weiss and how he acted in that courtroom, she said, no, when they said that this is sweeping, meaning he is going to get preferential treatment in regards to the gun and everything is on the play. David Weiss didn't even balk, and it was Hunter's people that tripped out, and we're like, wait, what? And he's like, that was never part of that. It's not even written in it. And it was all subjective to what we thought was coming with the sweetheart deal. But David Weiss stood on every aspect of what the judge asked, and because of the amicus brief, it was asked, are there, and because of specifically that amicus brief, it was asked, are there other are you currently investigating Hunter Biden and anything else? Yes. What is it? We are not at liberty to say. That statement in the middle of that courtroom passed so many. I've been watching the news, wondering why people aren't focused on that. When the judge asks a prosecutor something, you don't get to say, I'm not telling you, nana boo boo. The only reason you can is if it is under presidential treatment or gubernatorial treatment, meaning that they have to keep it quiet based on the position, and I don't know the exact word, but it's like, because it has something to do with the president, we can't talk about it. But they can't say that. So then that's where you found Merrick Garland was fucked, because David Weiss was, I need to have that special prosecutor dictation so that I can go anywhere, do anything. The whistleblowers came out and said he wasn't allowed to file anywhere. All of that, everything that everybody thinks is negative to David Weiss, I think David Weiss played this situation perfectly. And I think for anybody out there to say, I even saw Charlie Kirk saying David Weiss is the wolf in the sheep's clothing, and I'm like, the guy's been investigating this bitch for 4 or 5 years. He's a simple prosecutor. He has an opportunity to do something right now, and if he does the other side, he's going to be laughed at for the rest of his life. It's career ending. Everything with Hunter, we all know it to be true. So he played it perfectly, did what he was supposed to do under his guise of his office. And now I think you're going to see David Weiss, because it forced Merrick Garland to actually give him that special prosecutor nomenclature. So now he has a way more sweeping investigatorial reach. And we don't, if he would have named another special prosecutor, it would take 5 or 6 years for the investigation to happen. This guy's already been doing it for 5 or 6 years. So I think everybody needs to give David Weiss a little bit of room here, because I think if you really look at it in a legal standpoint and a political standpoint, he actually handled this perfectly, to put himself in the position that he had always thought he was supposed to be, as that proverbial special prosecutor with that nomenclature, and actually made Hunter Biden's dad's AG have to come out and say, okay, now he's a special prosecutor. That is nuts, and people have missed it. So there's that whole Delaware dropping it, I think, is what they're going to try to put it in California, because that's where he lived at the time in order for his taxes. But at the same time, I think it's because they know what David Weiss is trying to bring them. They're trying to find an even better. They couldn't do anything in Delaware. Everything in Delaware was going to screw them, because Delaware was already shown to be a complete mess. And what you're seeing, and it was actually said by Newt Gingrich yesterday, that Fani Willis, whatever, was told on Saturday that you have to indict Trump on Monday. And it was because everything was starting to unravel in Delaware. Watch what happens today. There's going to be a drop, I'm sure of it, in regards to Delaware, not just because it was late last night that they dropped it. Delaware dropped the tax charges. You're going to see more drop throughout this weekend. They're going to try to do it under the radar. And then next Monday, the whole Delaware situation is going to collapse. This was Newt Gingrich came out and said that Fani was told, you have to indict Monday. She's like, and part of the discussion was, my jury's not back till Tuesday. He goes, I don't give a shit. That's why you saw Fani do a press conference at 11 o'clock at night. She was forced to. She had to get the special jury back, the special jury back. They had to get the indictment set up, and that's why she had a press conference at 11 o'clock. So that's Newt Gingrich saying all of that, and it all works for timeline. So something's going down in this whole thing, and I think it's David Weiss already pulling his special prosecutor game. So just pay attention.
Delaware is a great state. Delaware is a great state. I have 17 of my shell corporations are based there. There's no corporate income tax in Delaware.
Damn it, Chad. Now I got to go back and rethink it all. I wanted to hate this guy, and now you're telling me I can't.
Well, me and Bongino don't. I mean, we agree on a lot of things, and I love Dan. But he has one thing that I totally agree with: 72 hours off of anything. Don't knee jerk anything, especially in politics. Given it 72 hours, it's amazing how much information will come out. And if you don't like to look stupid, give it 72 hours. It doesn't mean you're not first to put it out. You just might be the first to have real discernment in your decision and what you are putting out as a pundit.
Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, but those whistleblowers, and I'm trying to think which round it was, but Weiss, this is a whistleblower process maybe going right. That when Weiss asked, I want to be special counsel and was denied, the whistleblowers informed us of that. They brought it to the public, right? Like this guy tried to ascend to special counsel the way he should. He was disallowed it for reasons that are at least specious. And for a change, whistleblowers brought a message out that probably then was the reason Weiss was named special counsel. Is that anywhere near accurate?
It's absolutely accurate. And the reason it is because you Merrick Garland, with everything falling apart with the amicus brief and the judge, everything that they had set up, if you believe in, in inside baseball, that if you look at him as a regular prosecutor, to go to Merrick Garland and say, I need to be special prosecutor. And Merrick Garland told the whole world, I told him he's not a special prosecutor, but he can file anywhere he wants. He can do anything he wants. And then when the whistleblowers came out and showed Merrick Garland to be an absolute 1000% liar, and then the amicus brief and everything fell apart in the Delaware courtroom because the judge wasn't about to take it for Merrick Garland either. It really forced the hand, and everybody is trying to go at Weiss saying he was going to do the sweetheart deal. Well, was he? David Weiss didn't agree to anything. The sweetheart deal that we were all pissed off about David Weiss, he actually said that's not the deal. So we can't be mad at him for what we assumed he was going to do, and that's what people are mad about. They're saying it's going to be another sweetheart deal, and if you look at what's happening in Delaware, it's collapsing. And is it collapsing under the whistleblower coming out and saying that David Weiss hasn't been authoritative? Then you have Matt Gaetz and Jordan out there saying, well, okay, now we know Merrick Garland 1000% lied his ass off to Congress. We want now that's, if you remember, that's when they first started really talking about getting real impeachment on Merrick Garland. And that's when the impeachment discussion was thrown in there with Mayorkas and Christopher Wray and the rest of it. Now you've got a reason to actually impeach the AG. So what the AG do? Didn't admit wrong, but went out there and said, okay, he's a special counsel now, which only proved that the whistleblower was absolutely 1000% honest. And that isn't something you get all the time. The whistleblower gives us a window into what we think, and it's still he said, she said, unless they have the text messages and all that, which most of them are pretty good at. But ultimately, David Weiss is not the enemy right now. That's a fact. And what from Newt Gingrich saying what he said last night and what we know that Fani Willis did, I think more's coming from Delaware for sure.
Thanks, Chad. We're going to take a moment to go to the host.
Attention, everyone. The Punch Bowl is where the conversation comes alive, and we've got it all for you. From thought-provoking talks to engaging exchanges, it's time to dive into the Punch Bowl. Check out Punchbowl Town Square for a feast of discussions. From the enigmatic Samuel, rumored to be an ambassador to intergalactic reptilian overlords, to the insightful Bishop and the answers for days Jeff. And that's just the beginning. But wait, there's more. Tune into the Punchbowl Town Square for even more dynamic dialogues. Get your green thumbs ready for the Home and Garden Cast every Tuesday night at 7:30 am Eastern, where Kevin and Webb share gardening wisdom from Nelson Gardens. And don't miss the Discord community for lively discussions beyond the airwaves. But that's not all, folks. Tap 4 Nerds got you covered with Locals, a hub for in-depth explorations. So here's the deal: like, repost, share, and join us at the Punch Bowl. Punchbowl.space. Punchbowl Town Square, Home and Garden Cast, Discord, Tap 4 Nerds, Locals. It's too much. I don't get paid enough for this. I mean really Tap for Nerd. I said unlimited. Yes, I know it's in the contract, fine, but this is the last time. It's all happening. Stay tuned, stay engaged, and stay part of the Punchbowl conversation.
Makes you want to clear your throat, doesn't it?
Yes, but it was awesome.
Good morning, P.O. Texan. What are we pissed off about today?
Nah, I just have a comment about this Watts thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it specifically dictates that you can't be a special counsel and also be a government prosecutor at the same time. That's independent is supposed to be just that, independent of the government itself. So I think there's a little bit more to it than what I've been hearing. It just stinks. I'll drop it there.
You're right. He's no longer a federal prosecutor.
And how'd that happen?
It's like a simple bit of paperwork, I bet.
So I quit, so they'll appoint him special counsel.
Correct.
Well, and he was an attorney, right? He's an attorney in this system. All they do is change his jurisdiction. I take your point, PO. Like, and I think the conversation has been going back and forth. Like, let's watch this happen. Let's see what's going on here. But I'm with Chad. I think there's more positive news than negative. And your question is one of those. I think it's really like if we had a lawyer here, they could explain it to us in 5 seconds.
Yeah, shall means it's the way it's going to be. It's not ambiguous, and you don't get to choose, rock, paper, scissors or whatever. It's shall means this is the way it is, doggone it, and that's what's supposed to happen. But then again, this administration, actually following the law isn't something that's, been documented that it's happening. So I get it, but I just wanted to point that out. I mean, I hope to bury the son of a gun, man. This son of a gun here, he's sitting there talking about, oh yeah, the family, this and that thing. Hell, he's got a granddaughter. What's her name? Navy or something like that somewhere. The family doesn't even acknowledge. His son got his carrot wet, produced a baby, and we're just kicking that child to the curb. Now, is that a family, man? Damn.
Okay, PO'd. Again, things you don't notice if you don't watch mainstream media. I think it was a week ago where the media went ahead and did Joe the favor. They're like, oh, Joe and Jill Biden are taking ownership over Hunter's child. They didn't say Hunter is, but apparently Jill and Joe, and now I want everybody in the town square to remember and take notes. We have to watch the stockings this Christmas because the way it stands right now, if we don't get a Navy stocking at Christmas, then Joe and Jill have gone back on their word. But I've been told they've accepted Little Navy as part of their family.
Yeah, I think I just threw up my mouth a little bit. That poor kid.
Oh no, she just hit the jackpot.
Heck, they haven't even given her the last name, correct me? Isn't that the case?
I think that case is still ongoing.
That is still
in
ongoing, yes.
Arkansas.
I got you. Sounds cool.
Pio, are you in the DF-Dub area?
Oh, no, I'm deep south, man. I'm not a Yankee. I'm south of I-10.
Okay, all right. Well, I was going to mention that Lee Harvey Oswald is still alive today. And did you know in 1964, the CIA took him to Lancaster, Texas, on the south side of DFW. They call it Lancaster there because Texans talk funny. But anyway, in 1964, the CIA took him to Argentina, and he trained there with various paramilitary groups, including Nazis. And since then, he's returned to the United States. That's why Trump and Biden have not released all the final classified documents regarding the murder of my father and my uncle, which was done by the CIA, by the way. And at this very time, Lee Harvey Oswald is living in the United States. He's a caretaker at one of the guest houses at one of my properties in Martha's Vineyard.
You need to go ahead and put a couple jawbreakers in your mouth and try talking.
Now those are what he has is spasms, gentlemen. You got to you got to shake the voice a little bit. You sound great, but you got to shake it.
Before I came in the space here, I drank 4 ounces of Listerine.
Yeah,
Just plug the hole,
maybe
man.
need to gargle with it, buddy. Or, hey, try some Pendleton. That'll make your throat buzz.
He was out
Well,
of vodka, guys. You can't
I'll
blame
do
him.
I'll do Listerine shooters, scope shooters, whatever it takes, but it calms down the nerve.
Good morning, AC.
Hey, good morning. I wanted to talk with ML's son. That's interesting about Lee Harvey Oswald being alive, and I know Judith Ferry Baker quite well. I talk to her, at least once every couple weeks. Just spoke with her the other day. She might need to know that her lover Lee Harvey Oswald's still alive, since she attended his funeral and wrote a bunch of books about him and speaks about things
Oh
that
my
people
God.
bully her about all the time
Really?
and try to cancel her and get rid of her. And she had to move and move
Well,
again. And yeah, because people
he,
hate her because of the things she shares. So
well,
I need to tell her Lee is alive.
yeah, he's a caretaker at building number 3 at one of my Martha Vineyards properties. And in fact, Hunter Biden is staying there this weekend.
Awesome. I will definitely let her know. Thank you.
I think we have an imposter here because I'm the real JFK Jr.
That was awesome. Heck yeah.
Chad loves listening to him.
Can you do that with like a drunken, slurred Mexican kind of dialect?
I'll work on that tonight, buddy. I had to practice that part. And one of my drunken stupors, I was trying to mimic Trump, and damn, you don't sound like Trump. You sound like that Kennedy cat. Oh, okay, I'll run with it.
That was pretty good.
I do a pretty good impression of someone who's been fucked over by the government for 36 years.
Yeah, you sound just like me, man.
Somebody needs to ask RFK about his other uncle that killed a woman and then walked home.
Hey, watch your mouth on that, man.
I was
That was
depressed today about.
accident. That was an accident.
You,
They got a
you know
blowout.
what can cause that as well? You know what can cause that as well is taco dust. And you've got a lot of that down in Texas.
Well, I was depressed earlier today, but once I started to make my homemade iced coffee that I found a recipe for mine, I think it changed everything for me. So yeah, I'm not traumatized anymore by all this that's been happening in the United States of America. So just look up on YouTube a nice iced coffee recipe, and it'll help all your woes.
Wait,
Is
does it
there
go
like
beyond
meth
put
in it
ice
or
in
something?
coffee? Yeah, I want to see this recipe. Put ice in coffee.
I want to reject black tar heroin iced coffee this morning. I know it's Friday, but calm down, people.
There is no cannibalism in my iced coffee.
We knew it was going
Oh,
to come up, right? You let her talk about iced coffee for 3 seconds, and now she wants us to be cannibals.
She did that shit on purpose. Get in the corner, AC. Take her mic.
Is there any grinding in your recipe?
she
No, it's
grinds
against
up
my
the bones
religion.
of her
It's
enemies.
against my religion.
Oh my God, the Listerine is wearing off.
You better really stop it. Trying to imitate me. It's getting on my nerves.
God, this has to be so frustrating that like PO's like nailing it and he's not even trying. But ML, you're close. You are close.
That's what she said.
No, she did not. We're not going to put words in her mouth, okay? This
That's
town's.
what
I'm
she
just
said.
kidding. Shut up, Tap.
Again, I apologize for disrupting the room here. I'll go down as a listener now.
No.
I got to give Michelle a foot rub.
If you're talking about Michelle Obama, you stay away from my woman.
What's a woman?
Michelle Obama. For one.
In a patriarchal society, we have to remember that's not what she said. That's what he told her to say.
Oh my God.
Can I clip that, AC? That was.
Yes. It just popped in my head because I had this magical iced coffee. It's just, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I'm picturing you've got like the. Yeah. You're high on sugar right now. I feel bad for the come down. Like an hour from now, you're just passed out on the couch. Like, I need more iced coffee.
I'll be in the garden pulling weeds.
We're working on a new song here for PO Tex, and it's called Try That in a Yankee Town.
Is it not enjoyable to say try that in a small town out loud for every article you read? It's like I'm watching the local news, like, man robbed at gunpoint. Try that in a small town.
Grab a National Geographic, have a blast.
Well, that shit might fly in the city.
Well, my bride, when I was gone all the time working, there's a gun above every door, that sort of thing. And she had this cat come drive up to the place, and when she answered the door with the AR-15, aiming, she was holding it with two hands in a shooting posture at his belly button. He kind of sounded like Kennedy too there for a little while. I'm just looking for directions. Yeah, you came to the wrong place for that. And he got in his car and left. Now, if by some stretch of imagination he was here scoping, he went back here and told his partners, "Don't go down there. That bitch is nuts." So yeah, that works. And we're not even in town. We're out in the boonies. So
Try that in a small town.
That just sounded like you were choking yourself.
It's not very funny to make fun of my voice.
did y'all watch that hearing when he was sitting there talking about the censorship and all that, in front of the whatever committee? They had panned over and had a picture of the Democrats when he first started talking, doing his opening statement, and he closed it and said, well, I'm going to respond to that as opposed to reading my opening statement. The Democrats are actually just laughing at the guy, the way he was talking. That pissed me off too. I mean, it was, this man can't help it anymore. They can help being stupid, or being Democrats, But I thought that was pretty piss poor that they were mocking his ass, and that kind of got on my nerves. But it shows.
Well, I was hanging out with a few Democrat friends, and they were saying how dangerous RFK was, and how disappointed. I said, "Oh my God! So it is Democrats killed Kennedy. It wasn't the Republicans after all. You guys just don't like the Kennedys, right? And but you want them part of the party? Like, what's going on?" And then they got really mad at me and said, "Yeah." So they're probably going to block me on social media. But I actually think that a lot of people are showing their true colors. Like, don't hold it up as like the bastion of the Democrat Party and throw it in everyone's face, and then at the same time say how dangerous they are. Like, make sense. They're not making sense.
Yeah, that, and then you got all the poser rhinos, the poser Republicans, and we call them rhinos, but yeah, I mean, it's what's happening. I mean, the reason the Democrat Party is so high right now is because nobody knows history. It's just that simple. I'm sorry, was that a room breaker? My bad.
I also wanted to apologize for being a Kennedy. I had no choice in the matter.
I mean, I'm not saying I love the Kennedys. I'm just saying that I don't use it as a bastion of the platform of a party that I say I support. I disagree with a lot of things that Kennedy did and agreed with some of the things that he did. But I'm just so tired of hearing classical liberalism is dead because the Republicans have moved everything so far right. And then a Kennedy comes out and they're like, danger, danger, real Robinson. It's a Kennedy. And then they want Biden, who was pretty much a Bushite, who did everything that Junior and Senior wanted, helped push for the Patriot Act, wanted biological weapons experiments, and started talking about anthrax just the day before the 9/11 towers came down. I mean, this is a guy who's been wanting gene therapy forever and wants the cancer moonshot that's experimenting with vaccines right now today. And this is the same Democrat Party. This is their hippies. This is the, my body, my choice. So they're not making any sense. And when I say something, it's because I'm friends with them, and I'd like for them to turn their brain on for one section and like stop being partisan, like to a point where you sound like a goober. Like you literally, no thought is matching up, and 2 + 2 is not 4 anymore for them. And so, if you love your friends, you need to speak to them and ask them why they're not making any sense, why they're promoting pharmaceutical companies. And, no more than like 10 years ago, they were warning us about GMOs. What the hell's happening? Like, we got issues here.
You need to introduce them
Look,
to
you're
Chip
making
Roy.
fun of.
You need to introduce them to Chip Roy and just break them in slow, into conservatism.
I'm impressed at how quickly people become irrelevant because RFK is already a joke for our friend ML down there, right? And he's increasingly becoming irrelevant. Remember how much attention? Remember when Elon had him in a space? Remember John Fetterman? What happened to him? Where's Carrie Lake? Why are things going so fast? If you can just like at all go back through your notes over the last 6 months, so many of these things that seemed like massively relevant are just gone, absolutely gone. And it's funny to think this conversation started with Vivek because someone's got us all Ramaswami'd up right now and we pay attention to him. But RFK is already like a weird joke, an irrelevant joke.
How dare you? I wanted to say that Biden is a good man, other than he's just got a few bad habits like lying, cheating, stealing, plagiarizing, sniffing, rubbing, and whatnot.
Terrible, terrible. I can understand every word you said, ML, and I wasn't irritated. Try again.
They
The
ran
most
their
interesting thing with Biden, if you go back 10 or 20 years, look at all his interviews on YouTube, he says the exact opposite of what he says today on every issue.
Go get a plastic bottle and crumble it while you're speaking.
When I think of Trump's political career, I think of how Nestle sold coffee to Japan. They made coffee candy, and then like 14 years later, they sold coffee when those kids grew up. When I think of Biden, I think of how Monsanto took over the farming and seed industry of our food by driving trucks and purposely dumping them on some of the largest plots of farmland across America, and then coming back a year later and saying, "You're growing our product, and here we're suing you. Oh, and by the way, your farm's worth less than we're going to win in the lawsuit, so now we own your farm." So there's a big difference between what we're dealing with. These are much different animals.
You're speaking my language, Jeff.
Gotta admit, man, that was pretty slick.
Even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while, Jeff.
No, I mean, the whole way they did that, it was pretty damn smooth.
That's a win.
Well, again, nobody
That's a
nobody remembers that Joe Biden was not going to be the presidential nominee, right? And then out of nowhere in South Carolina, some chicanery happened and he became the candidate. And although we think ML is just a drunken joker on the coast of the Mediterranean somewhere, the first thing he said was, I have 16 shell corporations in Delaware. Notice how Delaware just be over there existing and nobody pays attention to it? I'm from Delaware, born there, raised in northern Delaware. And we used to call Joe the senator from NBNA, right? Which is the bank that he got his son on the board of. Remember when he was Amtrak Joe? He got his son on the board of Amtrak too. So if you wonder why Clyburn and all of South Carolina were willing to sort of like bend the rules to get Joe in that spot, it's because he's the favored candidate of every corporation on the planet.
Never underestimate Lindsey Grahamnesty, and also Dick Harpootlian, who sits quietly in the state but maneuvers very, very sneakily.
Well, where are we at with anything positive in the news? Has anybody heard anything to make you smile before we?
It's Friday. The
Iced
weekend's
coffee.
coming. Good weather.
It's Friday, Friday.
Amanda
Yes,
Milius is
it's
on
coming.
Cat's show tonight. Everybody should listen to that. I love Amanda Milius. She's amazing. Go watch her movie, The Plot Against the President, because even if you think you know what happened to Donald Trump, Amanda will give you a beautiful narrative view, right? It's based on a very good book that you could also read. Take the time to read it. Because when we sit around and like have these conversations, a lot of us could walk away from them thinking like, we're shooting the shit and there's not really all these. Yes, there is. Read the book, watch the movie, tune it. Chad can probably do the details better, but I know I will be waiting to hear Amanda tonight.
Is the movie at the theater or is it on Netflix?
Amazon, you can just go right to your Prime account, put in The Plot Against the President, and it's like $2, $3 or something. And Amanda's worth the money.
Her dad
What
did
time?
Apocalypse Now and everything else. Her dad is a stupid big movie producer and director of some of the great war movies.
What?
Red Dawn,
What?
Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, now you're talking my language. Oh, thank God.
What time is this?
I made it
This
to
should be
Punchbowl 2
8
days in a
p.m.
row. It's a red letter day for me. Like, I think this is amazing for me. I'm awake at like 6 o'clock in the fucking morning, just so I can hear my neighbors yell at each other all morning. It's awesome. Thank you very much. I don't have to watch news. I know exactly what the fuck's going on. I mean, like, I get everything at the Punchbowl. Don't forget to retweet the space. Thank you.
Donald, I'm so happy to see you. Upside down.
Wait, you can see me?
8 p.m. 8 p.m.
You can see me right
Eastern
now? That's weird.
Yes,
for Shell
I'm
Shock.
everywhere.
Hold on a second, Dom.
You look horrible in your picture, by the way.
Get control of this, Bishop.
You gotta work on your voice a little bit better if you're gonna impersonate one of the presidential candidates. You should probably try a little harder.
All right, Donald, ML, go reload the bong. Chad, tell everybody how to like tune into Cat tonight.
Yeah, it's a special Shell Shock 8 o'clock here on Spaces, and it should be great. I mean, she's coming in. She is funny. I've talked to her. She wants to pre-interview for my show. I don't know when I'm going to get her in, but she's damn funny. And again, another family lineage. You know, from some of those movies are crazy, but she's the real deal, man. And she doesn't pull punches. I think you'll all enjoy it. And I hope you are there, Samuel, because I know you'll have good questions for her. Honestly, I started the movie, but I just haven't had a chance to do anything but talk shit.
Go with what you know.
The problem that I worry about is that a lot of people may not know her for her name, right? And they'll miss out on it, and it's sad because people are like, "Who?" And name's not necessarily synonymous with it unless you're like real deep in it. But we're going to promote it with the movie today and make sure we get the space. So if everybody could help us, because it's one of those things where you may not know of her name, but you should if you know her work, and you'll enjoy it.
Just a one show today, or are you guys running multiple again?
No, I have no shows today. Monday through Thursday, I have no shows. But I told him I would, of course, be in Shell Shock tonight. But other than that, I have 2 interviews, one in Australia and another one in Canada. So radio interviews today, and that's it.
Hey, could I trouble y'all to whoever's got this information to DM me on this? I'm out in the shop, don't have anything to write with, so I don't want to forget. I want to get in on this just to improve my knowledge.
If you mentioned Canada, I wouldn't go close to Canada. I wouldn't get within 100 miles of Canada.
So, Texan, are you talking about the Red Voice Media stuff?
Yeah, whatever it is y'all were talking about, the plot against the president and all that kind of stuff, just kind of lay it out for me. I'm kind of simple-minded Texan, so I'll forget it because I ain't got nothing to write with.
I believe there's a
Um,
tweet up top right now. So you just swipe over from the hats that are the first tweet, and right behind that, you should see a tweet there. You can either bookmark that tweet, or I would definitely follow Chad, and I would also follow Shell.
Yeah, and Amanda as well. And then the one shout out I'll give as well is, and this is an easy name to get out loud. His name is Lee Smith, and he wrote the book that Amanda made the movie that the movie is based on.
Tap, go for it, buddy.
This is a real easy one. So set up notifications for the Punchbowl TM, the account on the top left that's hosting this space, because I know you all follow it already. And if you don't, it's okay. I'll give you grace of 20 to 30 seconds to go ahead and tap that. I know it's very difficult to take your finger and slide it across the screen and press and do the whole follow thing. I get it. It's complicated. But go ahead and enable notifications while you're there. And then here's what's going to happen. The way that I know to go in and give Chad shit in other spaces is I have notifications set up. So when he starts speaking in a space, I'm like, oh, let me go over there and start talking some shit. So you can do the same thing. What we do is we support everyone in this broader community as well. So we're going to be there. The Punchbowl TM is going to be there. So set up notifications for the Punchbowl TM. And of course, Chad and others and everyone there. But we're in the town square right now. We're being selfish. So, but no, set notifications for them, follow them as well. But also do it for us because we're going to be there. And what'll happen is you'll go ahead and you'll get that notification on your phone. And you'll be like, well, crap. Tap for Nerd's in there. So I don't really like Tap for Nerd, but I do like Chad who's hosting that. So let me hop on in there. And the other thing is, here's the cool thing. If you don't want to do the notifications through X, you can use, and it's not my website, but I do know the guy. I think he does well with it. Spacesdashboard.com. If you log in with Twitter, it's safe. I trust the dude. I log in with several of my Twitter accounts. You can actually set up notifications for when someone's hosting or co-hosting or just speaking in a space, and it will actually alert you. So there's a bunch of resources out there that you can use to set it up, because we know that these hosts have like thousands of people listening, someday millions, so they can't send out a message to remind everyone of everything. But we do have tools that can help us, such as those notifications and also electronic calendars where we can set up a reoccurring thing like, well, shit, I know Chad that goes live at, X time every day. So I'm going to put that on my calendar to remind me. So, yeah, just throwing that stuff out there. See if it sticks to the wall. And if not, remember, folks, resist these calls for cannibalism.
That's great advice. Yeah, definitely. People don't realize they have to turn on the notifications when you're following people if you want to know everything that's going on, because Twitter's not going to tell you. You're not just going to magically see them. Oh, look, they have the purple halo. They're in a space. Yeah, and it's probably going to close in 5 minutes because you're 3 hours late. So notifications definitely helps for your spaces hosts.
I did it. I did it. I think I did anyway.
You're my hero.
Yeah,
All right.
Piot, I sent you the space tonight in your DMs.
Hey, Punchbowl, do you guys have a bloopers reel of like on the garden show and any of the shows you've done where it's just everyone just is, laughing, and then we can draw people by sharing a bloopers reel?
That's like the whole episode most days.
Yeah.
Currently, no, but I believe that they're going to have something working a little bit down the road. I think Tap's going to be working on something like that.
Yep. They're one of my many jobs to do. Yes, we're heading that direction. We'll absolutely be able to do that, AC. There's benefits to that. Yeah, definitely. And when we start doing those, please tell us DMs are preferable. If they fucking suck, so we know where to adjust course.
Hey, Tap, would it be better? Because I've one of the main things I hate that I'm sure that you dislike is exactly what I just did, where I asked if you guys do something and then it gets tasked to somebody, and then they're expected to do it because they said they would do it, and then if they don't, then it's like, oh. So would it be easier if audience members that found a particular thing that was funny went back and time stamped it, and DM'd you, and then you could either approve or not, or the others approve or not. And then that way you're not having to search through and do all the work yourself. Would that be helpful, or would it just be better if I shut up?
No, actually, this is wonderful. Because here's how it's supposed to work. I'm supposed to get better at handling that stuff gracefully and not making it obvious and just rolling it with him. Be like, yeah, we can do that, and then follow up behind the scenes. I think that's how the pros do it. Um, so it's not anything on you. But I do. Where's Webb? He's not in here. Oh, he is in here. Cool. I can say that I plugged the Discord. So if you use our Discord, like if you're signed up there, we actually have like a bunch of channels in there, and a couple of them are for like listener feedback. If y'all want to drop a note in there and be like, hey, I don't know specifically, but approximately my time around 10:15 or so and so was speaking, then yeah, that makes it a lot easier for me to go back and actually grab out the file, because I'm still learning how to edit and produce and all that. I'm not against it. I just can't do everything.
Awesome. I
You know?
just wanted to find out what you would need, because I'm sure lots of people would be able to help out rather than just sit there and make demands like I did, which was very rude of me.
And if you do stuff like that, and if you do want to send me a DM, it's fine. Like Discord would be the preferred because I can actually index it or I can search back over time. But if you want to do DMs, I'll take that too, because I'll take any free feedback I can get from people telling us how we can do better. So if there's like a clip, I'd rather have y'all tell me, hey, Tap, this would be a good section of the show to clip, because then you're basically training me to what y'all like, what y'all want to hear, and what's going to work to bait other people in. That's good teamwork overall for the brand, and it's fun. So I'm all for that, as opposed to me going out and be like, I think this would make a good clip, and everyone's like, no, Tap, that's not a good clip. Only you find that interesting, you know?
And the next level to that, if you wanted to be, a little more so involved, I see people do screen recordings all the time. You want to actually send in a clip that's really good that someone clipped out. That's kind of cool too, because it's already ready as a small clip.
Also,
I'm getting suspicious here. For one, I think that Tap and AC are trying to close the show out before we find out that it's National Fajita Day. And I think the reason that they don't want you to know it's National Fajita Day is because of what's in their fajitas. And I bet there's many of you out there who are thinking like, you know what the solution to my political problems is? I'll make fajitas out of all of my enemies and put them on sizzling platters and make everybody smell it. Because the sad thing is, if you burned your neighbors for some one reason or another, right? The smell, after you get past the horror, the smell, you'd have to fight your inner instinct. It'd be like being at Chili's, right? And the waitress goes by with the sizzling skillet. I think Tap, I think I see what you're doing. I understand that it is National Fajita Day, and I understand like what you're trying to pull off here.
Trust the plan, Sam. And on top of that, all it takes is a little peppers, mushrooms, and onions to get rid of the smell. So just trust the plan.
I really thought I was going to get away with it. Samuel, darn it. You and your darn dog.
My God, I think that would only apply south of the Mason-Dixon line where there's a bunch of country folks. We don't do that stuff up here in the sophisticated Northeast.
Squeal like a pig.
And make sure you actually warm up and crispen your white corn tortillas.
Ew, flour tortillas, not corn. Ugh.
I feel like there's a promo for this.
You're not allowed to complain, AC. Corn tortillas are still good. You just been making them wrong your whole
Flour
life.
tortillas.
No, this is the gringo test. If you order flour tortillas, the people at the Mexican restaurant look down on you and they hate you.
Good. They'll like me. I swear they'll like me.
You just got to find out how to cook them the right way. Like when you cook your meats, you leave the fats and the liquids on top, and then you'll slap your corn tortilla on that, and you'll fry it up real quick. It's way, 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 way better.
I'm still trying to get a really good Mexican corn recipe, like the street corn, because I've tried to make it and it just didn't come out very well. So I need to get a good recipe for that.
Check out YouTube.
With my iced coffee.
Check out Rumble. Check out Rumble.
Chad, I think you have a hot mic, but I can't tell.
I'm going to step down now. Thank you so much for bringing me up.
We're making bacon with somebody.
I got to go for a bike ride with Joe Biden now, and hopefully I'll join you tomorrow. if he doesn't fall over on me.
All right,
Nobody
I
will
know.
be here tomorrow.
Yeah, it's Saturday.
I'm sorry, I don't have a Gregorian calendar, but thank you for reminding me.
Just be patient.
Azteca.
Show up eventually.
Hola a todos. Les cuento sobre este increíble grupo que está completamente enganchado escuchando el Punchbowl Town Square NX, sí, así como lo oyen. Estos chicos son apasionados por las conversaciones profundas y los debates enriquecedores que ofrece este espacio. Desde historias fascinantes del misterioso Samuel, quien dice ser embajador de los extraterrestres reptilianos, hasta las perspicaces charlas de Bishop y su equipo, este grupo lo tiene todo bajo control. Y lo más importante, no solo escuchan, se involucran. Les encanta darle like, repostear y compartir los diálogos. Además, no se pierden el Through Home and Garden Cast, con Kevin y Webb, todos los martes a las 7:30 p.m. hora del este. Es como un abono de conocimiento para sus mentes. Así que, si buscan un espacio donde las conversaciones fluyan y se sientan parte de algo genial, únanse a este grupo y escuchen el Punchbowl Town Square NX. Están viviendo la experiencia y tú también deberías hacerlo. A darle con todo, amigos.
Great. Now I want tacos. Kidding.
Your sponsorship matters. We couldn't make the promos without y'all.
Help us out, because at this point we can only afford Spanish speakers.
I got Punchbowl.
I heard gardens.
Adios.
Reptilianos.
Muy loco en de cabeza.
Hi there. It's Lois Griffin. You know, I've stumbled upon something intriguing. Tap for nerd. He's got the brains. He's a robot and he's a man. I can't help but be fascinated by his smarts and all things geeky. If you're into that too, give him a follow and dive into his world of knowledge. Who knows? You might learn a thing or two. Stay curious, my friends.
Thanks, Lois.
All right, it's Friday. It's Friday. Everybody get out, do something. Hopefully, you have something planned Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern.
Remember, everyone deployed, do a buddy check, give to a food bank.
Jeffries, got anything?
Nope, it was a great week altogether. Love this new format. It's working out wonderful.
So I'll make sure I end the punch bowl and not just leave it. How about that?
Take it easy, everyone. Thanks for coming in.